A Netflix original series. The Transformers. Yeah, that's right. I'm very excited today to have for you that guy that's not Cliffjumper. Bumble something. I don't know. With how much the kids are into Cliffjumper, I just don't know if he'll catch on. I don't think there's anyone who saw Cliffjumper who wasn't like, oh yeah, cool. Well, I can't wait to see that as Bumblebee, right? Like, it wasn't a matter of if, it was just a matter of when and how. I, for one, am quite surprised that he came out in the Netflix line. I mean, I know he was a big character, but look at them feet, right? This is clearly his Earth mode. It's also weird, no symbol there. I feel like there should be. But anyway, is this not now just the quintessential Bumblebee? Like, I feel like this is just as good as the Masterpiece one, really. Like, for the price difference, I don't know why you would bother unless you're already hard locked into an MP collection, and in which case, even if you were, I'd say sell that and just get behind the War for Cybertron trilogy. It's much more cost effective. Right, so Bumblebee obviously does all the same hoo-ha and jazz that you saw with Cliffjumper, so I'll put a link to that video if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of his transformation, articulation, and what have ye. He does also come with the same accessories that you got with Cliffjumper. That, of course, being this stuff, which, I mean, is cool, alright? That bazooka was cool, but I don't think it would have hurt to leave it out in favor of some more Bumblebee-esque accessories. Even if they just kept the twin pistols and gave us something else, I could live with that, because they look pretty cool with him. You know what I mean? When a huge part of this line was fan service and getting it, you know, super G1 accurate, why would you not have thrown in a couple of the Bumblebee-specific accessories that came with the Centurion drone? I don't feel like that would have been too difficult, right? Pew 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 pew! Now, while he is obviously parts for me with this bit coming off, right, you don't have to necessarily take it off. So just don't, and then it's not a big deal, right? It's just something he can do if he wants to. Maybe he could always do that and just often chose not to because who wants an exposed spine? It's a pretty serious mug. I know he was a serious character in the Siege show, but I wouldn't have minded seeing him with a little bit of a grin, right? Because it's his Earth mode version. It's got nothing to do with what we saw in the Siege show, making this a strange release. Which kind of goes for the whole Wars for Cybertron trilogy releases in general, right? Including the Netflix one. It seems like they had all the figures they wanted to do, wrote them all down on like bouncy balls, threw them up in the air, and then based on which nets caught which balls, heralded the release order for the figures in the trilogy, right? Like, what business does RC have being in Earthrise when clearly it's a Cybertronian vehicle mode, right? Right? God, this mold really is quite poseable, isn't it? Like, I think the main takeaway for people was that he was so small, but man, he can throw some shapes around, right? Waist. He's just quite the maneuverable little fellow. I said it with Cliffjumper as well. You really are getting like your value's worth, even though he's small. Like, I feel like engineering, parts count wise, everything, he's still well and truly on point with the other bots. Let's take a look at B quickly alongside some other G1 favourites. Get him in there with Siege Ironhide and Earthrise Optimus Prime. Now, he's undeniably little, there's no getting around it, but I feel like he scales pretty perfectly based on like the cartoon comics, the general kind of consensus that B is quite small. He is taller than some bots. If you go ahead and get some Battle Masters in there, right? He's taller than them. And then, you know, the other cool thing is you can obviously weapon him up. How much fun is that? Pew 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 pew. Even just having him with Smashdown, how delightfully kind of, you know, Hearts of Steel a pairing is that? We're gonna build a railroad. Boom. By way of other Bumblebees to offer a comparison to, I don't have a huge volume. I'm not the biggest, you know, like I said, Bumblebee guy, really. I do have from way back in the day. Oh, I didn't expect that. Adjusting. From back in the day, I do have the classic Bumblebee, which is pretty dope. I thought this figure was sick, but standing next to this Bumblebee, this guy with his confused boots and thighs and, you know, wrist kibble, doesn't quite cut it anymore. I mean, I do have a special place in my heart for this guy, and I probably always will, but in terms of default Bumblebee, it's gotta be this guy! Now, I don't have an actual OG G1 Bumblebee to offer a comparison to, but I did manage to pick up the latest reissue and the reissue waves from Kmart, which is cool. There you go, this one I believe has a different head to match actual Bumblebee, but with retro packaging, but it's a switch. Fan, pleasing everybody, but pleasing no one. But, you know, a more faithful adaptation and upgrade to this figure, I cannot imagine. God damn it, Bumblebee, you win. Alright, I get it. I understand the hype. Now I know. And knowing is half the battle! For a final comparison, let's smash him in here alongside Cliffjumper. And it really is just dealer's choice when it comes to which of these two you like better. I think I prefer Cliffjumper, but I don't know if that's just me being a rebel and pushing back against how front-forward Bumblebee has been in the franchise since the movie, I guess, 07? I don't know. They do look really good together. This is one of those kind of almost like mold sherry things where I think it does just make them seem more real. Like, of course there's a whole bunch of dudes that just look more or less like this, because as I walk around in the street every day, I see a whole bunch of dudes who, apart from the color of their shirt and the cast of their face, may as well just be the same dude. Man, in a horrendous world, maybe in some far-flung future, you could do a Generation Selects 2-pack of these dudes if you wanted to. With a Movieverse Skids and Mudflap head. Oh, I know we don't talk about them, but oh, how gross would that be? Oh. I do wish there was some way just to definitively settle between the two of them who's top dog. Time to go over the top. You're the best around! Alrighty, let's go ahead and transform the little bumble bugger, shall we? So, first things, the parts forming elephant in the room, take that off. I'm sorry, it has to be done. Then, smash them elbows at some weird angles, come around to his front, pull that chest piece down, then you can just flip up, boink, that hood. Wow, that's an actual little Volkswagen looking badge on the hood. What a tiny, tiny detail. Kudos, hashtag. Anyway, smash that in. It's tight. That's definitely gonna end up with paint getting chipped off it for sure. For sure. Right, you'll have him looking something like that. Pull those arms down, twist that waist. That will now free up enough motion in here to hinge that whole section forward. Come around the back and fold these arms behind. They'll click when they're where they want to be. With the feet, open out those heels. This is really clever engineering this. It might be straight from the masterpiece, I can't really be sure. But flare those out, flick out the wheels from this side. Right, that whole bit comes down, wheels out. I think you can sort of see where it's going now. See what I mean? It's a surprisingly complicated transformation for what's essentially quite a small figure. You're definitely getting all of your engineering's worth. And then it's just about giving everyone the hoity-toity till they fit. Hey, there you go. There's pretty much all of a Volkswagen Beetle. Now obviously, go get the rest of the car. Fold that up, make sure those hands are nicely in place, and then you can just peg it on. Alright, there's some gaps, but it is a pretty teeny tiny toy. This is my first time transforming him. As he goes back a couple of times, I'm sure he'll get more used to it. But yeah, there you have your little Volkswagen Beetle. To my eyes, it doesn't quite hit the full V-dub shape at every angle. It seems a little elongated to me, but I don't know, maybe that's just me being so used to his little cartoony cartoonness. Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, woo, I get around. He started as a robot, now he's a Volkswagen bug. Don't call him Cliffjumper, cause we love this bug, Bumblebee. Ooh, tight. Like a glover. Let's go ahead and have a look at Moldmate Cliffjumper. This is pretty great, right? They feel just so different. These are radically different vehicle modes to my eyes off of what is a very similar robot mode. And to me, therein lies the beauty of Transformers. If anyone was complaining about repaints, remolds being a cheap and tacky exercise, I'd probably send them over to have a look at these dudes. You probably wouldn't pick it just from looking at them, right? Especially when Bumblebee's got that cool glossy paint job compared to Cliffjumper's matte finish. It's just, they're very different toys. And I love them both. Beep beep.